And in this episode of Revv Evolution, we bring you the all-new BMW 2 Series. But that's right, folks, we're back here at Revv Evolution, and of course I'm your host Renee. Well, as you know, BMW last year launched a whole slew of vehicles, okay, and in this year there's no exception. They started off with the BMW 5 Series, and right now we have the all-new BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe. Right, folks, let's begin the review of the BMW 218i M Sport. We'll start with the exterior, starting from the front. In tandem with the rear sloping roof, you also notice that the front hood is also sloping as well, with design lines, which brings it all the way to the front to the very familiar BMW one-piece kidney grille in satinated aluminium. And for the M Sport model, the front apron has specially sculpted air intakes in high gloss black trim elements. One of the standout characteristics of this coupe is its dynamically stretched silhouette. Lots of the lines similar to the 8 Series Gran Coupe. And how does that affect the car itself? Well, I'll tell you more when it comes to the interior of the car itself. And moving on to the doors, the 4 doors are characterized by large surfaces and bold lines, which happens to be the new BMW design language. And let's not forget the frameless side doors. And moving on to the rear. The Sport model features a BMW M rear apron. And another striking feature is the all-new design of the rear lights, which accentuates the car's rear with a nice low sloping roof line. So what can you expect from the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe? Well, first of all, the interior shares a lot of its DNA with the 1 Series hatchback, but that's where the buck stops. In terms of the exterior, the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe has an all-new platform with an all-new design as well. In terms of competition, well, we have the likes of the Mercedes-Benz CLA and the Audi A3 Saloon. Right, so what I'm going to do is talk about a couple of standout characteristics about the 2 Series Gran Coupe. First of all, you'll notice it has a stretched out silhouette, which means lots of space on the interior, which I'll talk about when we do the interior. And also, a lot of its design lines comes from the 8 Series Gran Coupe. And one of the very useful safety features about the 2 Series Gran Coupe is the fact that as long as you have the key on your person, what happens is when you walk away from the car, the doors will automatically lock, and vice versa. It will automatically unlock when you get closer to the car. Earlier I mentioned that the 2 Series comes with a longer wheelbase. So what does that equate to for the rear seat passenger? Well, I'm 1.7 and I'm quite a bulky dude. And I'm seated comfortably in the back seat with lots of headroom and also legroom as well. And in terms of the fact that this car has a sloping roof, that doesn't really affect me in terms of my seating position. So that's really a plus point for the 2 Series Gran Coupe. It's time to talk about boot space, and you're probably thinking, nah, the Gran Coupe probably doesn't have a big boot space. Well, you're wrong. It comes with 430 liters of boot space and quite a deep boot as well. And it also has a 40-20-40 split, which means you can actually fold the seats down and create more space for yourself. You're planning on carrying more luggage, maybe a bicycle in the back as well. Hey guys, and I certainly hope you enjoyed the earlier part of the review where we gave you as much info as we can about the BMW 2 Series, in this case the 218i, alright, the Gran Coupe. We try to give you as much information about the exterior, things like the interior as well. But for now, it's time where I tell you more about the drive experience and also touch on maybe certain features of the car which we didn't mention earlier. Okay, I'll try to make it as short and sweet as possible. But before we do that, let's check out the specs of this Gran Coupe. Alright folks, we're back. So let's now get into technical details and also the handling of this 218 Gran Coupe. First of all, this may be a 1.5 litre turbocharged car, and to be honest, a lot of people were surprised when I told them the CC of this car. Okay, because as you know, nowadays with BMW's badging, the number of the series doesn't really give you much. It doesn't actually tell you the CC of the car itself. So when I had a couple of people sit in the car, I kind of made them guess how big the engine was, so we kind of did a bit of driving, and a lot of them were telling me they felt this was like a 2-litre car. But in fact, when I said it was only a 1.5 litre, sorry, it only has 1.5 litre turbocharged engine, they were surprised. They felt that the engine was smooth, and they basically kind of expressed what I was feeling about this car as well. That the car was smooth, the engine was quiet, and power was on tap whenever we needed it. All right, which is basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of gives you an idea about how the 218 Gran Coupe actually feels. All right, but like I said, getting behind the wheel and driving it, you don't really feel that this 1.5 litre, because I can tell you this much, it doesn't perform like a 1.5 litre car. Okay, I'm not mentioning any other brands, but I can tell you this much, it doesn't perform that way. Okay, and now let's talk about some features which I think you'd be probably more about. And I think in this case of the 218i Gran Coupe, one thing that I'm really impressed with is the fact that there's just so many safety features. And once again, this safety features comes as standard in the car. Right. First of all, we have the package called the driving assistant, which consists of a couple of safety features, which is in the Gran Coupe. Okay, first of all, we have the lane departure warning. Okay, so what this actually does in the car is the fact that if you happen to be in the lane, example, right? If I happen to be moving out of the lane, it kind of gently nudges you back in the lane, unless you're actually indicating that you're going to change the lane. If not, if you're just driving normally and you happen to be drifting out of the lane, it actually pushes you back into the lane. So that it's really helpful, especially when you may lose concentration for 1 or 2 seconds and maybe going out of the lane and you might be hitting somebody. It actually nudges you gently back into the lane, which I think is really one of the useful aspects of this car. And we also have the front collision warning with brake intervention. If you happen to be driving too close to somebody, okay, what happens is the car will actually come up. There's actually a red signal that appears on your control instrument panel, which tells you you're getting too close to the guy in front. And if you still ignore it and you get closer, what happens is the car will actually intervene for you, okay, well, by braking, which it is really a really excellent feature, because I know I've seen tons of drivers who they just follow somebody too closely, and what happens is you get a little accident because you hit a guy in the rear. Okay, so that's a really useful feature in the car itself. The other thing also which appears in the car is also the blind spot warning. So if anybody happens to come in your blind spot, there's actually an indicator on the mirror which shows you that somebody's in your blind spot, so not to change your lane. Safety features, tons of it in the 218i Gran Coupe. And other little features about the car itself, I think is pretty useful, is the fact that this car also comes with the parking assistant and reverse assistant. So for those of you who have problems parking, well, we have the driver assistant in the car, which actually allows you it actually helps you park in your car, which I think is a pretty nifty feature to have as well. Touch on next is the performance of the car and other technical aspects. Okay, I'll try once again, as I said, make it short as possible. Okay, being front wheel drive car, everybody's is as being when you hear BMW, the first thing comes to mind, man, it's a rear wheel drive car. Okay, but the fact is, 2 Series Gran Coupe is a front wheel drive car. Okay, and lots of you guys wondering, why did BMW do that? Well, not to worry. What they've done is they've actually introduced some technologies to compensate for this as well. They've introduced this technology called the ARB. Okay, and just to give you an idea what it means actuator contiguous wheels slip limitation. Very technical term. So what it does, it actually helps to control or reduce power understeer, okay, which means you happen to be taking corners, especially the car actually, what happens with the ARB system coming in, it actually helps you corner sharper. It gives you a better, allows you to have better cornering. Okay, there's much more stability and safety as well. Okay, so with the ARB technology being inside this car itself, it really gives you, honestly, I've taken it, I've gone through a couple of corners at speed, okay, I will tell you, and I did not feel that much understeer. In fact, I didn't feel any understeer at all. So that's kind of one of the ways which BMW has compensated by giving you all that technologies to help you have a safe drive as well. Okay, and other technologies that you features basically that in the car itself is the fact that you also have BMW's experience control. Okay, we have the driving experience control, which consists of your usual modes, or maybe you might be familiar with the modes rather. We have the sports, the comfort, and the eco pro mode. And one thing that I kind of miss in the Gran Coupe is the fact that this bad boy doesn't have paddle shifters. Okay, that is, to me, is something which I think would really be the icing in the cake if they added paddle shifters to the car, because I love shifting gears at my fingertips. Okay, but you still can do that at the gear stick. Okay, but to me personally, I prefer to have both hands on the wheel as I'm driving. Okay, so paddle shifters is something which I kind of missed up in this car, so it's not available in the 218i Gran Coupe. Probably you'll be wondering about some fuel economy. Well, the fuel economy on paper, BMW states it does about 16.9 kilometers to the liter. We had about 4 people in the car, and we drove quite a bit to just give an idea about how the car performed in terms of fuel consumption. So what we did was we went up some slopes like the Shears Bridge and so on, and I managed to get about 14 plus, which I think is pretty decent for the fact that this is a 1.5 liter turbocharged car, and I was basically changing gears, going into sports mode, and I really wanted to push the car as much as I could and with load and see how the car actually handles in terms of consumption wise. Alright, so I think you'll probably be happy to know that this car really does give you great fuel consumption. And then I think that ends it. But before I go, pricing wise, if you're wondering how much this car actually costs to drive in Singapore, it's a price at $168,888. But do verify it with your dealers to find out whether the price is actually correct. Again, road tax is $684 per year. Alright, so that about wraps it up. Our drive experience right here with the BMW 218i Gran Coupe, and on to the summary. Well folks, it's time to wrap up our drive experience with the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe. I know what you're probably thinking, it's just a 1 Series dressed up in a new body. Well, that's where you're absolutely wrong. Alright, the 2 Series is made up of so many different components, from its exterior to its engine design and even its interior with its longer wheelbase, which will definitely surprise you. And with its handling, even though it's a 1.5 liter, it really offers you so much more. So if you're looking for a car which is going to give you tons of space, a great drive as well, it's time to check out the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe. First of all, a big Revv evolution thank you to Performance Motors for allowing us to have the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe for our presentation, and of course to you guys for watching this episode as well. And if you find out more about Revv evolution and all the things we've done, do remember to check out our website right over there. And don't forget our social media platforms. Till we catch you again, this is Renee, signing out.